have with us this morning Dr. Marc Hedrick, President and CEO of Plus Therapeutics. Welcome to the program, Marc.
Hi, Johnny. Thank you.
Well, I know we've had you on the program here before, but would you give us a high-level overview of your company? What is it that you guys do?
Yeah, sure. So we're a targeted radiotherapeutic company going after rare and central nervous system cancers. And to put that in lay terms, what we're trying to do is take super high amounts of radiation that are lethal to cancer cells, put them directly to the tumor and only the tumor, and leave the normal body structures, organs, and tissues alone. So it's that targeting married to a super aggressive amount of radiation that makes it novel. And this is really kind of beginning to take over cancer care in a large way.
Congratulations on your recent $17.6 million grant from CPRIT. Could you talk to us about that?
Yeah, we did. We just received a $17.5 million award from something called CPRIT, which is a Cancer Prevention and Research Institute of Texas. And, top line, that funding will support the majority of our lead drug, which is 186 RNL, which is a targeted radiotherapeutic, and it'll support the majority of the costs for development for a completely new indication called leptomeningeal metastases. And I'm happy to tell you what that is. And it'll support that over 3 years. It'll support clinical development for about 150 patients, potentially get us all the way through phase 2. So it's one of the biggest grants they've ever given. Notionally, it doubles our cash position and gets the company and our balance sheet well through 2025. So it's enormous for us, and it's essentially non-dilutive capital and great third-party validation for the company.
Now, CPRIT is one of the largest global funders of cancer research. Could you talk a little bit about how this validates your research?
Yeah, it is. It's not well known outside of Texas, but Texas voters have actually approved the legislature to provide now $6 billion in cancer funding that's focused on the state of Texas. Both academics and corporate partners are eligible to receive that grant money. So one of the reasons we moved the company to Texas from La Jolla, which is a big move, by the way, was to be able to take advantage of that program. So they have smaller grants for companies, which are on the order of $2 or $3 million, which are more typical, and that's more seed money to get products and projects up and running. And then there are these bigger grants that fund all the way through phase 2, and they'll fund up to $20 million, and Grant was sort of approaching that. So our lead program right now is in glioblastoma and brain cancer, which is a rare disease that affects about 13,000 patients in the U.S. every year. Leptomeningeal metastases, which is what the CPRIT grant is targeted for, affects 120,000 patients. So it's 10x the number of patients. And it's growing because as we as drug developers put more drugs on the market that control tumors locally, like breast cancer, we control the local spread, melanoma, gastrointestinal cancers, lung cancers, and so forth. We have drugs that do that, but the tumor sort of popping up in the fluid space around the brain, which is called the leptomeninges. And once it shows up there, these patients that are sort of otherwise controlled potentially have literally 4 to 6 weeks to live on average. That's their survival rate without treatment. And the treatments that are out there are pretty sort of kitchen sink. There's really nothing approved. So this would be potentially the first approved dedicated drug to treat patients that have leptomeningeal metastases.
Now, how does this award impact your business and your shareholders?
Yeah, so first and foremost, it really helps keep us out of the capital markets. We did a capital raise back in 2019, I think, and we haven't done a significant public offering over that time frame. We have a very low cost basis. We have an NIH grant that actually funds our glioblastoma or brain cancer program, and it funds that program through phase 2. So the idea with this CPRIT award, this almost $18 million CPRIT award, is it takes the next indication using the same drug and funds that through phase 2. So from an investor shareholder perspective, it really means the company has a very long cash runway and keeps us essentially out of the capital markets through 2025. So It allows us to add some resources using CPRIT funding to help get the trials up and running. It funds some preclinical work and potentially some partnership development work using a combination of our drug 186RNL with checkpoint inhibitors, and that's part of the grant. It helps us bring on a number of new clinical sites around the country. It helps build out our clinical team. So it just does a number of things that ultimately cost capital, and the capital from the grant keeps us out of the capital markets.
Now, does Plus Therapeutics have any important milestones coming up you'd like to talk to?
Yeah, we're kind of going through a season of milestones here, including the announcement of this grant award this summer. But we just presented essentially our final phase 1 results. There's still patients alive that we're monitoring for glioblastoma. We'll be updating that data set and talking more about the next step. So getting into a phase 2 here towards the end of this year in 2022 for our glioblastoma program is a very important milestone. Taking it from phase 1, data looks great, looks to be a safe, potentially effective drug for glioblastoma. There hasn't been a drug approved for recurrent glioblastoma in over 10 years, huge medical need. So getting that into phase 2 in conjunction with our discussions with our partners, and including the FDA, is a very important milestone. With respect to the leptomeningeal program that was funded by CPRIT, so we're in the process of doing what's called phase 1A, which is just preliminary safety. Thus far, the data looks very good. So we hope to get through that kind of phase 1A and get into dose expansion, and that's going to be in consultation with the FDA towards probably the end of this year, early next year. We're also bringing a brand new program forward that we acquired at the very end of last year, first part of this year, which is a radioembolic, totally different drug, different mechanism, sort of a similar radiation deliverer. It's called a radioembolic drug, where we actually drive the drug with the catheter just upstream to the tumor, insert the drug, it plugs up the blood vessels, and then dumps a massive amount of radiation, but in a very targeted way right to the tumor. So that's in preclinical right now. We hope to get that into the clinic in next year. So we're doing CMC work on that drug, and then there'll be some milestones related to that. So those are just kind of things that are most near ahead, but 2023 is really shaping up to be a great year for the company.
It sounds like it. Thank you, Mark. It was a pleasure having you on the program.
You bet, Johnny. Thanks for the time. Take care.